Is it better without or with the microphone?
Okay, for there. If I keep it here, a little bit distance, so is it better this way? Yeah? Okay, yeah. So thank you for your nice introduction, Anu and Susanne, and I feel very honored to be here today. It was last spring we started to plan this visit with Lee, and it seems to be always so busy schedule for all of us to find the perfect time to come here. But finally I'm here, and I'm very happy that we have shared so many interesting things together yesterday and today, visiting the schools, meeting teachers of your country, and have a discuss with your colleagues about education and teachers' professional development. So my 20 minutes, I think that I will talk about the Finnish education, and every time when I'm speaking something about Finland, people ask also tonight that what is the secret behind your success? So I think that I will take the privilege to talk something about that and some reasons we think that might be behind that magic thing that we have been very successful in OECD and other international surveys like PEARLS and PISA and PIAC for different age groups. So, for example, the reading literacy, math literacy, math skills, science, all of those surveys, we have been quite successful and done quite well. So, what might be the possible factors behind the success of reading literacy skills here? Yes? Yeah? Thank you. First of all, I have to say to you that the Finnish society put a lot of effort to education in our country and has done that a long time already. So you can see that we invest in education more than any other country in the world. So the education get a lot of resources, and when the politicians say that we have to cut the budget, people have said not from education, but everything else we can cut. And of course, I as a teacher trainer and working with the schools, I'm very happy on that. And I like to see that it continue that way. Along with that comes also the high trust to the teachers. I will talk about that a little bit more later. But the other thing is that the basic education from the preschool up to the doctoral degrees are free of charge. So it's equal for all children. It doesn't depend about the family background or the socioeconomic status of the family, how far you can study and develop yourself. What is quite interesting for foreigners usually is that our school days are quite short. So for example, today we were comparing the school days in Finland and in Israel, and we learned that when our first graders are at school about 4 hours per day, your children are much more longer time, and in Israel children have a lot of homework to practice at home when they go to home from school, but that's not the case in Finland. So, well, they might have some reading and math, but it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes to do at home. How that is possible? In our observational studies, we have seen that when the children are at school, they work very effectively for their learning. So it's 45 minutes learning tasks, teaching and learning, and then 15-20 minutes break. Children go out, they play football, they play with each other, they chat or do something, but they go out. It doesn't matter is it winter or summer or whatever. We think that winter is never the excuse, it's only a matter of clothing. You just go there and have some fresh air, and then you come in and you start to work again. So when they are in the classroom, they work very effectively and the task persistence is very high. There's almost no control on national testing in Finland. What does that mean? It means that we don't compare the schools or classrooms or there's that who are the best, which are the best schools in the country. Actually, from our surveys and the research, and also PISA has shown us that the differences between the schools and different places around Finland are the lowest, the differences are the lowest in the whole world. So actually there's no differences in the quality of teaching or the assessment results between the schools or classrooms. And that is of course good news. So it means that the teaching is high level in every school. It doesn't matter which school you go. So then the following thing is that parents don't need to choose the school because all schools are good. And the schools don't need to select the pupils because the teachers do good job with any kind of students. So they take the students from the catchment area from around the school. But of course we have the assessments, but the purpose of the assessment is for the pedagogical reasons. So that way we follow how the children learn things. And we also, that way we can identify if some child is struggling with the reading, for example, or needs some individualized support or more help to their learning. So all the school book series have some assessments. So there is, for example, 6 weeks period where they have the learning plan, and after that is the assessment. And the teacher used that information for the pedagogical purposes. Is there something we need to repeat, or is there some who didn't understood what was going on, or do we need to do something again, or put more effort to some areas. And it's also, of course, the feedback to the children that what they have learned, and one aim is to make very concrete to the child that what you have learned during this period. And the concrete means, for example, that with struggling readers you can say that when you came to school you didn't know any letters, and now after the 5 or 6 weeks you know 5 letters already by name. So that means that it has to be very concrete to the child that they feel that they have learned something and they have proceed. Even maybe someone in the classroom has proceed more, but everyone has learned something. So the feedback has to be encouraging, concrete to the learning, and supportive in nature. The one aim of the assessment is also, of course, to recognize the need for individualized support. So the special education teachers and classroom teachers in elementary school work together so that the special education teacher can have a co-teaching or team teaching in the classroom, maybe twice a week, or the special education teacher can take those children who need extra support to the small group inside the classroom or outside the classroom. Or if the child has very big problems, there can be individualized support from the special education teachers as well. But the early recognition is very important, and that means that the recognition starts from the kindergarten already. And that is quite new innovation that it used to be 10 years ago that it was a huge gap between the kindergarten and school beginning, and parents were a little bit nervous, and also children were nervous to start the school, that what's going to happen and do I manage to do well there and so on. But the new curriculum, which I was involved to do that as well, the kindergarten and the first grade teachers, they need to collaborate more closely. So they have planning time that the first grade teacher knows already a lot about the children who are coming to the school next fall. And the kindergarten teacher is the key person to find out if there is some children who need support already before the school, that the school beginning would be very smooth. So nowadays there is not any big step to start the school. It's a smooth transition from kindergarten to the school. And we had a pilot study before that Jane's, where we try to find out that does it have any effect to the children's learning, and we find out that in those pairs where the kindergarten teacher and the classroom teacher planned together the program and looked the continuation from kindergarten program to primary school program, the children's achievement was better in the end of the first grade than in those schools who don't collaborate with the kindergarten teachers at all. So about the teachers, you might know that our teachers are highly educated. So all of them had at least a master's degree in education. That means 5 years education in the university program. In last 2 years in their program, they specialized to some subject areas, usually 1 or 2. If they take only one, they do it that kind of studies that they are qualified to teach that subject also in secondary school. But they can have minor studies in more subject fields, and that way they are more specialized to teach some specific subjects in the elementary or in primary school. And the primary school teachers inside the school, the principal is not only the one who is taking care of the resources of the school, but the principal is also the pedagogical leader of the school, and the principal's background is always as a teacher. So they are teachers themselves in the beginning as well. So they know about the learning and teaching and all those things as well, and their main task is to support teachers' work at school and the professional development of the teachers in his or her school. Skip that. Some words about the new national curriculum. The one thing which is very much stressed in new curriculum is student-centered learning and teaching, which means that the students' experiences, feelings, areas of interest and interaction with other children in the classroom is very, very important. So it's not that it's not valued that the teacher is just lecturing to the student or teaching in the traditional way, but the very important is to find the situations where children can learn from each other and collaborate with each other. And you see that picture there. It's one example from the first grade how they do that, and you can see that the children are actually talking to each other, not through the teachers observing the learning and also supporting the learning to go forward. So the teacher's task is to take the individual learning approaches of each student into consideration. And the other thing what is very important in the new curriculum is the motivation and engagement to learning. And that is also the teacher's task, to be aware of children's interest in the classroom, the individual interest, but also to raise the curiosity to the new things and raise the new interest and support the new interest areas. So this is more or less the overview of the first grade classrooms instruction, reading instruction, or literacy instruction. Our teacher training programs and also most of the school books are based on the research results. So they are evidence-based or evidence-informed at least. And we know that the reading development have many factors behind. First of all, the language skills development of the child, and the motivation to learn to read, to get something out from the print. The home environment, socio-cultural experiences at home and print exposure at home, it's a very important part of that when they come to kindergarten and come to school. That, for example, is there any shared reading at home? What are the parents' attitude to reading and books? Do they go to the library, for example? Is there anything to read? at home, for example, newspapers, magazines, or children's books, and that kind of things means the sociocultural experiences about the reading and literacy. Then the self-regulation, which is needed for the good results, that you have skill to concentrate to learning situations, and learning to read and write means a lot of work and practice and repeat and repeat and repeat. So you need a very good self-regulation and task persistence. So when they come to school, the basic literacy instruction nowadays, we think that it's not anymore so that first we'll teach them to decode skills so that they learn to decode the words. We think that the reading comprehension is as important as the decoding skills. So how to support the reading comprehension before the child can read? So it goes through the shared reading moments. So the listening comprehension strategies are the way to go, the reading comprehension strategies. Because in listening comprehension practices, the children are practicing the same strategies of understanding and comprehend the text as they need when they will start to read the longer text by themselves. And also the reading and writing are teach hand by hand, so we don't wait that they read good enough before we start to teach spelling and writing. We start to teach also spelling and writing skills together with the decoding skills right from the beginning. The one example which one teacher told me about this, how to teach the spelling and writing in the beginning, was very, very nice, which I like very much. She said that don't correct all the time what the children are trying to write. You don't correct the child when they learn to speak. You just get them to practice speaking. Give the time to the child also in spelling and writing, because it's the only way to learn to spell and write, that you try and try and try. The correction can come much later. And I like that idea that we need to give the space to the children and time for the children, and not expect only the right answers or the perfect text right from the beginning. I think that I will go here. One thing is the orthography, and the Finnish orthography is very transparent and simple, like Hebrew as well. And it helps children's learning to read in the beginning, but not later on. And we made the study together with our neighboring country, Estonia, where the orthography is very much the same and the school system is the same. The only difference is that they teach the decoding skills already in the kindergarten when we start in the first grade. And we made a comparison with them that even when they start the school at September, they are, of course, the children are much ahead of ours. But in the end of the first grade, our children, which is that red line there, they do much better. So what is happening in the first grade? And our doctoral student has made observational studies in both countries and looking what are teachers doing differently in these two neighboring countries. And she found out that in Finland there's much more tailored instruction and individualized work according to child skill level than in Estonia, where it's more like the same to all children and the same task and the whole classroom teaching. So what might be then the theoretical overview of this? Of course, there is those societal factors behind, factors in educational system like teacher training programs, and the student-related factors, cognitive and home environment factors as well. But when they come to school, we are more interested about the learning environment at school. Of course, the learning environment at home has an effect, but the school can make a change and can improve child skills very effectively if the classroom factors are in high level. And that means that the classroom climate is positive, the teacher is sensitive to children's needs, regards for students' perspective, the management and organization of the activities are very clear to the children, they know what to do, so they work very effectively, and the individual support is available, the quality of instruction is high level, and the teaching practices they use are student-centered. So it seems to be that these learning environment quality factors are affecting to children's motivation, engagement, self-regulation, and so on, and those factors are mediating the academic outcomes. So most of all, it seems to be that teachers are affecting the students' motivation to learn, and if they do that well, the academic skills come after that. So I think it's quite nice idea, and we have tested that also in our studies that it seems to work. So I go here. So how to make the change in teachers' behavior in the classroom? The research has told or showed that usually the professional development programs change the teachers' knowledge about the things, but that's it. So how to make something more? And it's about the self-confidence, pedagogical beliefs, and school cultures which are affecting the teacher's behavior in the classroom. And we have developed this kind of cycle recently to our professional development programs, that they start with the knowing and seeing, so they have some reading and expert lecture and maybe some video examples, and then they go to their classrooms and they try those new things, and they video record their own practices, and then they send those video clips, the best video clips to the mentoring teacher, and then they have workshop meetings where they are reflecting those best practices together with their colleagues. And that seems to make actually the difference in their behavior. And then they start again. They take the new aim and find the knowledge on that and study that a little bit, find examples on that. They go to their own classroom, try that, videotape that, share that with the colleagues and discuss and reflect why the children were so motivated, what I did well, and you get all the time the feedback from your colleagues as well. So at least it seems to have one way to go. So thank you for your attention.
Anteeksi.